Well, hello everybody, Mr. O here, and today I'm going to be doing a very long video. So there might be some cutaways just to break up the video a little bit, but please pay attention. So what I have in front of me is basically the questions for sustained investigation. Identify the inquiry that guided your sustained investigation. Describe ways your sustained investigation developed through practice, experimentation, and revision. Those words are important. And first, before I get started, I want to thank the students. These are all Burlington students' work, and they're allowing me to show you. We're going to see the positives and the negatives, but please, everyone keep in mind that the subject matter is personal to the people involved, so please be understanding. And I will give a censorship warning to this first portfolio. While I was told there would be no nudes allowed, this person did a few nudes and score a 5, which is the highest you can get. 1 and 2 is not passing. 3 is passing, but without college credit, and 4 and 5 are passing with college credit, but 5 is a very rare. It's a small percentage, and you're going to see. I'm going to show you one that scored a 3 that could have scored a 5. And I'll explain why. And we're going to go through this, but please keep in mind, focus on the writing parts. Remember, there's a difference between nude and naked. I'm not going to focus. I'm going to kind of scan through a little faster. But this person did a wonderful job. And I want you to see the difference of writing, the quality of writing. And I will teach you Chat GPT. I will show you how you can use it as a tool. Do not let it do the writing for you. Allow it to guide you. And there's a difference, and I'll do a video for you guys how to do that difference where it's still what you're writing and it's just rewording it and making it proper. If I mispronounce anything, I'm a little tired, and I'm going to try to read fast. Some of this stuff I'm going to go really fast with, and some of it I'll probably drag on probably too much, so I apologize for that ahead of time. But if you have questions at the end of the video or another time, ask me and give me the points so I can bring it up out of my head about like anything you're still confused about. So identify the inquiry that guided your sustained investigation. We're going to look at a number 5. Since this was done in another country, it seems like the pattern is a little different than the others. Now, it could be just the way it was. Maybe you have a choice to put it ahead or after the fact. Other people put it like the other ones are after the photos. And this is where you do the 15 photos to show your sustained investigation. Through the use of symbolism and metaphorical imagery, I explored the feeling of uncomfort in one's own identity through the suffering of one bodies and claustrophobic, I don't think spaces and violent situations. I did say claustrophobic, right? I wanted to, air conditioner coming on. I wanted to portray the discomfort of being under watch, trapped, and having control of my own violent tendencies. I initially wanted to focus on body dysmorphia. Specifically, as I did more exploration, I wanted to portray the many different types of self-esteem issues that can be covered as a personality, reputation, and academic performance. That's a pretty intense, this is, that alone, your inquiry doesn't have to be that complicated, as we'll see, but that is a wonderful, beautiful one that many people internalize. And as you can see in her response, as they stepped out of their comfort zone, the drawing became more realistic, showing technical drawing skills. Many revisions were done for the art, and you can see, like there's even a little explanation on why some of the characters are used and how they connect. See the number, and that way the judge can go reference the photo that they're referring to. And that's also something that's important. We want to be done with our portfolios April 1st and ready to start submitting. Now, is everyone going to be ready April 1st? No, there will be some last minute. There's always last minute people, but let's take a look at the images. All right, so here we have a digital image and Clip Studio Paint. And sometimes when it comes to digital, you can write digital using Clip Studio Paint. Look at the size. I always recommend, think of the size that you're going to print on. So this person could have said 11 by 14, 12 by 16, and you don't have to have the exact proportions. So always think about that. Don't go smaller than 11 by 14 in digital. I mean, you could be 52 by 40 on the computer, but when you list it, think about what size you would print it as. If it's a square, do the math, 14 by 14. Render on Clip Studio Paint, portrayed discomfort from hearing own voice using violent acts of imaging. Okay, so notice that there's a sound wave. I mean, think about how deep this is, and of course, great rendering, great shadows, and some of you are kind of in that horror element. The reason horror speaks to a lot of people because of our own thoughts. Now, look at image 2. This is important. Not only do you have this compose on sketchbook, revise, adding background, more blood, but I want you to think about this person was drawing multiple times, decided to change the hand position to completely different out, and what this person did, they made slides using the computer, and you can do this on your Chromebooks, and then this sketched out your idea and then showed the revision. Notice this was all done on one image. Look at how many pictures. Now, here's image. This is sustained investigation, so these are part of the 15. Now, here is, and this could be the final piece of that image. So we got one piece, but it was done, or we got two pieces, but we have 3 images. Now here's image 4. When we're talking about, look at the model, and there is a Studio Paint modeler that's free. This one is apparently in Clip Studio. I don't know everything about Clip Studio, and I can actually load that up so you can pose models and stuff. But I just want you to look at the images that are being, and of course here's the final image, and I'm going to just move that a little forward for obvious reasons. Now, these next ones are wonderfully done. As you can see, not as much written. And again, when you do this, when you do multiple pictures, height, NA, width, NA, sketchbook, and everything that you use, but writing out like idea sketch. Don't make the assumption that, well, it's obvious it's in the sketchbook. But this is the difference between failing and getting a 5 is what we're looking at, and this is why this is a 5. This is, I mean, look at this. This person took the time. Sticky notes are too literal, and just what they're trying to mean until they've come up with the final piece. Okay, and this is talking about claustrophobia, and just keep going with this imaging, and as you can see, everything connects towards that initial investigation and about, personal self-esteem, personal, what we internalize. You can see that and you can connect that. And of course, like let's look at reference photos, because this is going to become look at how they took a photo and then look at the study. I mean, look at the study from Razor Blades Blood and how they did this. And this is, like I said, I cannot thank these people enough for allowing me. So we're up to 15 images now, right? And then look at, other things that they might not have done completely, talking about violent tendencies of thoughts, violent thoughts, and the details of the background. I cannot tell you how many of you do not consider the background as part of your picture, and really looked at the whole thing, like even changing the background. It's always easy to change in digital, but this is why this is a 5. And like, portraying uncomfortable, so explaining what the feeling is or why it is important. And then here's like the 5 best works that represent you. And again, idea. Look at a nice explanation. Materials, kind of just digital drawing, like I said earlier, software with Clip Studio Paint. Process, sketch idea in sketchbook, rendered, add lots of mixtapes for anxious. So they explained why something was going on in the picture, and that's important. You want people to judge, to understand what you're doing. You have to guide them there, and it doesn't matter if everything is not perfect in your image. Okay, if you look at this beautiful art, there are things that can be improved on, but it's not just about the art, it's about the connection of your investigation of your portfolio. And like I said, this one is full of so much background. So we've seen this picture before, so this was used in one of the best 5. So can you use the artwork you make from a sustained investigation into your main 5? Yes, you can. And again, but take a look at the idea. Look at this. This is the difference between a 5 and what you're going to see. And then here's another repeat of a work. Okay, guys? So it looks like a lot of writing, but it really isn't, because you're just explaining what the pieces are. And I will have, this year, I'm going to have better templates for you guys to use, because in 2 weeks, I'm going to want you to have your own investigation. But let's look at a 4. All right, so we have a 4, and this is a big painting. This was like 16 by 20, might even been larger by, okay, here we go, 24 by 20. I knew this was a larger painting, and started on unfinished canvas with no planning, messed up, revised, kept painting, and penciled 2 fly traps. And you notice that they just kind of stopped. Just because you start something doesn't mean you finish it. It could be part of your investigation. We don't know what her investigation is yet, but in these that we're going to do, and this is a 2D art and design, the other one was a drawing. This was a score of 4, and you look at what they're writing. As you can see, the process is there. And now, could those 2 have been put on the same slide? It was possible, but because of the planning, look at look at what a very good process photo, and investigating, making mistakes, closing the eyes, having the eyes look away, looks much different than what the final product was, right? So that's what we're looking at. It's not the progress, it's the mistakes and the changes of learning. You're trying to prove that you're learning. That's what the sustained investigation is. And look at, okay, material, Curta digital painting program, and 12 by 16 layout composition, paint it from imaginations, which means there was no sketch. But here's the layout composition, work 6, and this is digital art 2, and then you can see the concepts, the thumbnails. Look at multiple pictures to form one, and you can make slides. Now this was a photograph of a unique, because I know it dealt with food and immigrants, and then how she took a photo and then just reference family, and then just did an image, and yep, there's the photo, and then you can kind of see how she was developing her color palette. And again, this was strong in digital, but here's some pencil drawing and reference photos. Now, I will say you got to be careful of just doing single photos and just as a singleton, but you can see that she has multiple photos of multiple pieces. And I will say that if she had a little bit more into her investigation, she would probably get a 5 over um, uh, a 4. I think this is why it's a 4 versus a 5. So as you can see, look at what she wrote for her sustained investigation. I'll only read the top part and reference the bottom. I set out to create a body of work that would shed light to underrepresented facet of culture, food. It serves as a cultural backbone, and when the culture is distorted, lost, or found, food is the first to change. I drew from many experiences, my female family members bearing an important yet thankless responsibility, my father and I navigating new multicultural frontiers in our own distinct ways, and with millions of people encountering gentrification and westernization through flashy repackaging and rising costs of our traditions. Okay, so as you can see, that is where their focus was, and in their response they talk about their works, they reference works, and then here's the 5 final pieces that they chose. And as you can see, every piece except for one, couldn't remember the last one, 4 out of the 5 pieces came from the investigation. So again, this was the opposite of the other, where it was more pieces that weren't even part of the investigation, and they did a very phenomenal job with this. I was very proud of them. Now, this next one is also a 4. Now, I'm going to give you a cautionary tale with this 4. This was a person who missed a lot of school, but they did a lot of good communication with me. They're a very good writer, and they were able to reference a lot. And let's just take a look at the sustained investigation. I'm going to go a little faster because we've seen a lot of this stuff before, and you can kind of compare reference materials to what they're doing, learning processes, using class projects as their references, and don't forget taking photos of what you're using to guide you, and trying to, as you can see, I'm wondering if you can guess what her sustained investigation is going to be. As you can see, the original photo. Now, when you try to do reference photos, try to get the actual photographer, unless it's yours. As you can see, doing your own original photography like this was done makes it easier. And that was for that hand drawing that we saw earlier. And we get a self-portrait. Now let's look at the sustained inquiry. My inquiry is about the beauty of nature connecting to man, natural concepts to every single one of us in some way. Okay, so I'm going to just stop there. If we just go for that first sentence, we can kind of see people and nature connecting. Though that was the important words, and you can see a very good theme and nice response, and this is why this is a 4. Now let's look at the 5 works. Here is work number 1, which connects to the inquiry. Here's work number 2 that does not. This was just another project from the classroom, and you can see. Now I will say, because they had so many absences, there was a reason they connect. And then work number 5. And you'll see that I will not choose the work for you. I will help guide you. But guys, you're going to see the next 2, which is going to be a 3, and then it's going to be a 2. This 3 is amazing because this 3 could have been a 5. And I want you to see the mistakes that were just laid out. And we as students, and we even as adults, sometimes we wait to the last minute and we rush things and we make simple mistakes that we don't normally make. I know this video is going long, so I'm going to pause it for 1 second and so hopefully it's a smooth transition. And we're going to look at the sustained work. Now take a look at this. This is a perfect example of what not to do, and that's putting photos in sideways. We need to make sure they're put in correctly. But I want you to look at processes, materials. I want you to look at what is written and how little is written. I do think that's a factor. Again, another sideways photo. And then here is a digital paintbrush, but we don't understand what's happening here. And without writing the process of why, there is what, but there's not a why. Why is there red eyes? Why were they originally doing that? How does that connect to the original theme? Now look at this sustained investigation and going up with this picture here, and see how they're jumping around? Like, they're not connected. And like, these two photos could have probably been on the same slide, could have been added together. And so keep that in mind. And this was one that was a painting. I don't know if they're going to show you their work on their painting. See how this face comes up again? That relates to the very first photo. So they're jumping around, and I want you to just see like lack of details in their writing. Good practice, but again, the pieces are not connected in order. We're just kind of putting pieces in. And here's a rose. Does it explain what the rose means? Reference for some photos in my realism piece. Which is the realism piece? You understand the question? So when you jump around and you don't really explain why this connects to the piece you're doing, and there's 15. All these photos were good, and I think that the score of 3 shows that. But look at the statement. My inquiry was how my childhood grief affected someone in their life, or how childhood grief affected me. Okay, so that really didn't explain what that connection was. So understand, you do want to explain what you're feeling and why you chose it. And then did a very good response there, and that explained a little bit, but now the response was to connect how you experiment. This is the matter of fact stuff here. This is like how you did your mistakes. And let's take a look at the 5 works. Work 1, work 2, work 3. Now notice that we never saw any of these finished pieces in the sustained investigation. Work 4, and look at this. There is no work 5. I want you to see this. Now you're probably trying to wonder, like, why is this this could have been a 5 with a little more writing and the 5th piece. So and this is the mistake we all make. We rush. We rush, and we just assume it's going to make sense to other people, and you cannot do that. You cannot assume. Please do not assume. And then finally, we have a 2. And you're going to see why right off the bat, why the 2 happened. Look at the writing. It's going to be very lackluster. And then I want to see, here's the sustained investigation. Ask yourself if this is progress, just progress shots, if this should have been 1 slide. Because what are we seeing that was truly different? Okay, see, a progress photo. This was line art before starting to ink. And those 4 could have been probably 1 slide, because it was talking about 1 image. You sometimes have to figure out what you can combine. Like, this is a perfect picture. This one is perfect. If all of them were like this, and look at that, there was an explanation of what was going on. Do you see the difference that this person has the capability of getting a 4 and a 5? But I think, and I, as a teacher, I can take responsibility. Now take a look at the quality of photo of the finished piece. And let's take a look at this finished piece, because this person, like I said, is very talented, but the first version of the piece. But look how smudgy a final looked. Look how the quality of the photo. You want to make sure you take quality photos, okay? And then how did these pieces connect? you're gonna, when you see what the inquiry is, you're gonna be like, how does this even connect? And that's just the thing. We don't know how it connects. So I'm gonna just go through these fast. See how they have reference photos? They probably could have combined for different photos. Um, with Okay, so the inquiry: what are the 7 deadly sins and how they affect everyday lives? More specifically, how they affected my life. That is a great start to an inquiry, but it was so general. And if you wanted to know, they only hit 5 of the 7 deadly sins. So maybe we choose the 7 deadly sins with the focus of wrath and gluttony, so you can pick a broad subject and then bring it to and narrow it, okay? And as you can see, you they did a pretty good job, but they didn't really reference the photos that they in their response to the sustained investigation to prove what they were saying of where they are, and like going to, let's say, work 14, or do the quote thing with, would help. And let's look at the finished works. Okay, so we have a double slide, which I think was a pretty good photo. Got the black background. Could have probably used a little more cropping. Here is work number 2, work number 3, but here's the idea. And again, a little more details. What were you dreaming about? What do you think the dream was about? And that's what could be referenced there. What does the blue mean? What was, like, just putting a little details to connect them a little bit. And then, oh, I should go this. They just said fire alpaca. How many people around the world know what fire alpaca is? Many of you may not know. It's a digital software program, and that's why you say digital art using fire alpaca. And then the process, again, probably a little deeper. And where were the mistakes? Where were the redos really explained? Here's work number 4, and then work number 5. Okay, so these are why things were separated different. And guys, it doesn't need to be too complicated, but you need to kind of just do something, and where it's like, what am I doing, where am I going with it, and what am I trying to express? And so you guys are going to get assigned probably within 2 weeks of this video. You should probably have what your sustained investigation is. Could you change your sustained investigation? Absolutely, but we don't want to do it last minute. I mean, unless you have enough resources of your other idea. And then, guys, hey, have a great day. Ask me some questions, and don't forget, you're beautiful and wonderful. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.